Hi, my name is Lindsay Moyer, and I attended a dialogue on disability. Um, do I feel that my group achieved true dialogue? I feel that our group remained on a fine line between debate, dialogue, and discussion. There were times when people would say something and another person would take offense, which is not in the true spirit of dialogue, but I kind of think it's like unavoidable when you're dealing with people who are dealing with a sensitive subject. Obviously, disability was a sensitive subject to some of the people in the room because they chose this dialogue for a reason. Some people chose it just because it fit into their schedule. Some people chose it because they actually had a connection to it. And so I thought that that made it more um, kind of less of an open environment because you knew that some people would be impacted if you said anything that was too harsh or too honest in some cases. So in the beginning, we were trying to define discussion and it turned into a debate, which I thought was kind of interesting because we were trying to have a dialogue talking about what discussion, dialogue, and debate are, and we were talking about discussion and it turned into a debate. And I think it's very hard to define. One of the attributes of a dialogue was that it was an attack on an idea, not on a person. Kind of you're criticizing them, and it's very hard to define an attack on an idea versus an attack on a person. Many times, a person would say something and they meant to direct it towards the idea, but it kind of offended the person. Um, I think that upon reflection, we did not achieve true dialogue as a group. For me, I felt I did not get offended or get attacked personally, but then none of my ideas were really disagreed with in a manner that made me feel belittled. So I feel that I took part in a dialogue, but I don't feel that everybody in the room took part in a dialogue. I think that if it was just people who were in my position, there would have been a dialogue, but I don't really have that much of an attachment to the subject, and so I mean, I didn't get as offended as some people did in the room when people would say something that like kind of offended them. I did not agree with everything that was said, but I was still able to understand why one would believe it when they said it, and no one's arguments differed with what I said so much that I couldn't believe them both simultaneously. Like no one said anything that I was like, no, I completely disagree with that. Um, so I do not feel that we as a group took part in a dialogue. I think there were active voices in my dialogue. There was one person who really contributed a lot to the discussion, and there were also many people who contributed a fair amount, and I feel like I was one of those people that was kind of in the middle. There were a lot of people who didn't talk at all, also, so that was a little bit. It's harder to open up when there are people who aren't talking at all because you don't want to say anything and then not have them say anything back. You don't want to have to say anything and not know how they feel about it. So there were definitely more reserved voices in our dialogue. There were some people who were hesitant to express their feelings for fear of being judged, which I think is unavoidable in any social situation, except for maybe with your family. But there were others who were nervous to express their opinions in case it might offend someone. Personally, I didn't want to be quite so brutally honest and like open because I realized there could be some people who are very sensitive to the subject and could be offended by a seemingly rude and blunt statement. There were some people who just didn't participate at all, like I said. In my group, I think I was one of the more talkative people, but I was not the most talkative. I facilitated conversation and helped keep the discussion moving along, but I did not say anything that sparked debate or anything like that, so I guess I don't know. I think the dialogue is a component of Library 100 because it's a different method of communication that not many of us consider. Daily, we take part in discussion and debate, but I had never really taken part in a dialogue before. I had, but informally. I talk to people sometimes and it's a dialogue, but we're never like, here are the group norms, here's what we're laying out that we can and cannot say, and stuff like that. And kind of saying that we're all going to be open to ideas. Debates and discussions are common everyday experiences, but not many of us have ever truly partaken in a dialogue. I can see it as a good concept that is difficult to implement. It's very hard to define, for me at least. I couldn't really see that much what was the difference between a discussion and a dialogue, so I feel like it'd be hard to take part in a dialogue because I don't really know what the difference is that much. But it seems like a good idea, dialogues, because it's a good way to share information without attacking anyone or hurting anyone's feelings. And it seems like a good way to foster connections and build relationships. So I think that's why dialogue is a part of Library 100, because they want us to be able to make relationships in college without offending other people, and to be able to just take part in discussion without really saying anything that would hurt anyone's feelings or becoming offended, and realizing that not everyone anyone says that disagrees with what you think needs to be taken personally, and you don't always have to be right. All right, well, that is my vlog on disability.